And welcome everybody to another episode of Dan-A-Plooza. My guest at this time comes from the Squared Circle, professional wrestler, Sarah Bubbles.
Hello.
Hello. For those watching and future watching, Sarah Bubbles is a professional wrestler. She has a show this upcoming weekend, Saturday, January 21st, at the Midwest Championship Wrestling in Marion, Ohio, at 7 p.m. And for more wrestling action, next month, February 18th, at FTC in Ironton, Ohio, at 7 p.m. And February 25th, RCW, West Portsmouth, Ohio, 7 p.m. Make sure to follow on the Instagrams at Facebook at Sarah Bubbles and also on Instagram at Sarah _Bubbles _740. And you could also, if you search on Twitter, just type in Sarah Bubbles and you'll be able to locate and follow as well. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
We're glad to have you here. And that was the plug segment. So everybody make sure to go to see some wrestling action and to follow on the social medias. So
Absolutely.
I'm glad you're here. We were talking a little bit beforehand, and I know that I had asked this question, so I'm going to re ask it. When I first heard of your name of Sarah Bubbles, it also came to me from the cartoon show of Bubbles, the Powerpuff Girls. So I kind of want to know, was that any kind of an influence, or did that have any part in your wrestling nickname?
Okay, so it's funny that you asked because my uh, my name Sarah Bubbles was actually given to me by my very first trainer, Jillian Hall. For about the
Oh,
first 6 months I trained, Jillian was one of my trainers with Bobby Blaze. I know we'll talk about him in a little bit, but and I was having trouble coming up with like my gimmick, and Jillian, at first, she couldn't really remember my name for the first couple weeks. And so she was always calling me Sarah. Um, and I was like, no, it's Becky. Like, probably shouldn't have said that part. But anyway, so she just kept calling me Sarah, Sarah, Sarah. And finally, it just kind of stuck. People get nicknames in wrestling, and everybody was calling me Sarah. And so that was just kind of my name. It just kind of worked out. And then she was like, I think you're Sarah Bubbles because they all like I was too happy and too giggly and like every time we would practice, every time I would do a move, I would laugh and they all couldn't get over it. So my name was Sarah Bubbles. So it didn't really have anything to do with that cartoon or the cartoon character, but just this past Christmas, those Funko Pops that are like super
yeah.
popular. My mother, who had never watched wrestling in her life until I became a wrestler, got me a Bubbles Funko Pop. So I now own a Bubbles Funko Pop from the Powerpuff Girls, Powder Puff, whatever they're, the Powerpuff Girls, uh,
Mhm.
and like it's the coolest thing ever. Like it didn't at first, but now it kind of does.
Yeah, and what could be interesting was the same with the cartoon. Everybody thought she was nice and sweet, and then she proved her toughness, and she I'll never forget because she's always like, I'm hardcore, and like she became like hardcore and like fought all these bad guys within a simulator. So people might think that, but be hardcore.
Like I might be like giggly and funny and silly, but
Sweet. Yeah.
I can I can get down to business when I have to.
Exactly, exactly. Oh man. I think I immediately, when you start thinking of when you mentioned Jillian Hall, I immediately think of of her singing in WWE. Like, did you guys ever talk about that, or was it mostly strictly just wrestling?
Oh man, listen. She she was an amazing trainer for wrestling. Don't ever take singing lessons from Jillian Hall. You want to talk about nails on a chalkboard? Oh man, but that that woman could really teach you some good skills in the ring for
Oh
sure.
yeah. So it's good there was no singing with the wrestling, because
No, no, thank
that, that might make you want to climb to the rope a little quicker or something.
that to the outside of the ring. Like,
I'm not having it. But yeah, so that's great. I had heard that she was a trainer, but I never really knew more of that side. I only remember from the entertainment side. So I'm glad you got to have that experience. So what's it like from going from having Jillian to moving to somebody from, WCW, uh, Bobby Blaze?
well, I got the I was really lucky because when I started training at FTC, Bobby and Jillian were both working at the same time.
Oh,
So
okay.
when the school first opened up, it was just Jillian. Um, and then Bobby came in a few months after the school opened. And then I was there for about 6 months before Jillian decided to go her own way. So while I was there, they were both there at the same time. What I'll tell you is they both are very knowledgeable about the business. They both were very classically trained by amazing professionals, and they both know what they're talking about. They both have very different styles of wrestling. I think that that means the most for me and the people that I trained with because we got the best experience. We got to learn old style wrestling and new style wrestling. Plus, for me personally, with Jillian being a female, she kind of taught a little bit of that, the special flair that women kind of have in the ring, ways to work in a female way, if that makes sense. Um,
Yes.
but also, in the same sense, there are a lot of trainers that teach to the masses. Like,
Hmm.
we'll just teach what's going to work best for everyone. But Bobby, now that Jillian's not there, he teaches really to the specific wrestler. So he still works on that for me and the other girls that are in my training class as well. He will find stuff that works well for us individually, and he still does that. So I still get that experience, even though Jillian's not with us anymore. So I feel like I've got the best of both worlds, and it's really just the best case scenario as far as learning the trade. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
um, because I really did get to learn some of the newer style of wrestling, and then what Bobby teaches is that old classic style, but also the psychology behind wrestling, making sure your match makes sense, making
Hmm.
sure if you're a powerhouse, which is how I paint myself to be. I'm the strong woman. I'm going to throw you around like a rag doll, but in the nicest way possible because I'm Sarah Bubbles. Um, but making sure that I'm not getting in the ring with a little girl that might weigh 100 pounds and letting her throw
Right.
around. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, Making sure your match makes sense, having the psychology behind it, um, making sure that the heel and the baby, they're doing their jobs. You know what I mean? Um, so he teaches that stuff. We call it the sprinkles. Because there's a difference between seeing a match and thinking, what? And seeing a match and going, oh wow. So he teaches to create a match where people are going to go, oh wow, and not a match where people are going to get up and go get popcorn during that one. So
Yes.
yeah, I think I had the best experience possible.
And that's great because I did recently just meet Bobby Blaze last year in October, so it was the first time talking to him, and he's just a very genuine person, and
Mhm.
like I think he was ribbing me along with Curtis Hughes, and that was just a good time for me because I remember both of them back in wrestling, so it was a lot of fun. Um, but I always think, as a fan, because I've gone to many indie shows, I like the matches where you sit and you think about it and you talk on the card ride home via 10 minutes, an hour, 2 hours where you live. Those are the ones that stand out,
Mhm.
versus like, yeah, this one was like, okay, it's those matches that make you want to come back to the show and make you want to support and, kind of bring enjoyment throughout the whole night.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. And I have seen matches where I have gone, what was that? And
Absolutely. Yep. I've seen them too.
yes, yes, I have. I just remember there was some match one time, and these two girls were fighting, and somehow the one girl tased the other girl, and then like the match ended, and like I was just like, I had no idea.
Hey, whatever.
Yeah, I was like, because I was like front row for that. So I can't be like, get in there. So, but yeah, so do you have a certain specialty? Like I know you mentioned that you're like a powerhouse. Do you have like a certain kind of match that you like to especially have? Are you like more of a tag team kind of wrestler, or do you like doing certain maybe certain matches or gimmicks or certain stipulations? What's kind of like your preference?
I I almost hate saying this and hate throwing it out in the universe because that tends to bite me in the butt. I hate gimmick matches. I just don't like them because then you get so focused on the gimmick that the quality of the match tends to suffer. Just in my personal opinion, there are
Yeah.
people who thrive on gimmick matches and good for them. But for me personally, I'm like a one track mindset kind of gal. I
Hmm.
just need a regular, simple, one on one traditional match.
Yeah.
That's where I'm best, right there. Just me and one other person just going at it, and may the best person win. You know what I mean? Um, that's what I prefer. Now I can do whatever they need me to do, but
Right.
my preference is just me and someone else and just going at
Yep. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think sometimes those are sometimes the best matches and everything, because then if you get so many people involved and everything, and then it's spilled out to the floor, half people are over there watching, half people over watching over there.
Yeah. Yep.
So I've seen all different kinds, and I've definitely seen quite a few gimmick matches back in the day. There used to be this one company I used to go to, and they used to have one like almost one every other month or something. So I've seen my fair share. But now, do you primarily wrestle just in Ohio, or are you looking to travel like outside of the Ohio state into other states? Do you think sometimes of going international?
Well, where I'm located right in the tri-state.
Hmm.
So I live like literally from my bedroom window, you can see Kentucky.
Okay.
So, but I live in Ohio. And then I'm less than an hour from West Virginia. Where we train, we're only about 15 minutes from West Virginia. So I've wrestled in West Virginia. I've wrestled in Kentucky. My home promotion, FTC, has held shows in Kentucky. I'm licensed in Kentucky. Um, so I've already wrestled in 3 different states, but that's mainly because of where I live. You know what I mean? Um, but honestly, and I say this on every podcast I go on, and I always hope people never think I'm not grateful. But I know what I know. I got into this later in life, and I know that I'm not planning to like sky's the limit with this whole thing.
Hmm.
um, I don't have huge dreams and huge aspirations because I'm realistic, and I'm
Hmm.
also a single mom of 2 kids.
Yeah.
They come first in my life. So I'm not
Hmm.
trying to jet set around the world, because I'm not trying to leave them home with, a babysitter or a family member
Yeah.
while I take off and live the life without them. So, so being at somewhere that's a few hours away versus somewhere that's on a different continent, those are very different things. Um, so I like getting the bookings that I do, but I don't really have dreams of traveling unless I'm getting paid enough to where I can take someone with me to keep my kids with me.
Yeah. So lots of dollar signs, please.
It would take a lot, and most indie promotions aren't really prepared to pay what I'm asking to be able to take my kids and someone else. And
Yeah.
I'm really okay with that because, like I said, I'm not like this isn't. I have a career, you know what I mean.
Right.
And like I said, I did get into this a lot later in life, and I understand that not very many promotions are looking for a short, not tiny, skinny, middle-aged woman. Like so, and I'm okay with that because for me, I'm just having fun. I'm making friends. I'm getting outside of my comfort zone, and I'm doing something that in 25, hopefully, years, I can tell my grandkids, "Hey, guess what? Grandma used to be a wrestler," and they'll be like, "What?" So that's what I'm just doing something that I needed a change in my life at the time, and when I started this, and it was really the therapy and the help that I needed. You know what I mean? So, do I plan on going to WWE or AEW or no? I really don't. Uh, that's that's not ideal for my lifestyle. I don't want to leave small town Ohio, but I'm grateful for all the opportunities that I do get, and that's that's where I'm at in life.
Now, let's say that one of those companies is touring where you're at and you could get like a spot on TV. Would you want something like that if they were in your area?
Oh yeah, like I've seen where I actually know a girl that had a spot on one a few weeks ago when they were in the Pittsburgh area.
Hmm.
Um, or it might not have been a few weeks ago. I'm horrible with time concepts, um, but I know they do that when they come into the area. They'll hire local indie wrestlers for the night. I would totally do that for a night, but I also know a lot of other people that have more of a body that they're looking for that they'd probably ask before they'd ask me. Um, but if they were in my area and they needed someone to, run a spot, sure. Yeah. Am I signing a contract for multiple years? No. Sorry. I'm going to pass. Um, that's just me. And I know there are a lot of people out there um, that are either in the business or dying to be in the business that would probably curse me for saying that. But this is my life and I have to live it the way I want to live it. So I'm all about what's
Yes,
making me and my kids happy and healthy.
definitely.
So, yep.
Yeah, you could be a one night deal, just like cash in and win the belt and then retire.
Yeah. I doubt they're giving belts to the one nighter.
It'd be the story.
Yeah.
But
Oh man.
yeah, I really started getting into indie wrestling like around I think 2014, and like um I've gone to, I don't know if you've been to this wrestling promotion, All Star Wrestling in Madison,
I
West
Yeah.
Virginia.
Hmm.
Oh, with Gary Damon.
I haven't worked there.
Hmm.
And I actually haven't attended a show there because it's quite far from where I am to just go and attend a show. But I've actually shared a locker room with a lot of those people that are on that show a lot.
Hmm.
I've worked some of the people that are on that show.
Yep,
So I know Gary. I've talked to Gary before, and I know that he puts out quality product.
he does because he lives in West Virginia and so do I. But I live probably about 3.5 hours from Ironton, Ohio.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I live quite the distance. So, but yeah, I definitely probably should come see a show sometime, and we could always do that because sometimes I go to comic conventions, so I could always stop by.
Yeah, that'll be a
Do
good time.
that.
Well, actually, shameless plug here. The show that I'm going to be on February 18th in
Mhm.
Ironton, Bobby's actually going to be on there as well.
Oh,
Doing
okay.
a, he's our current FTC champion, and
Oh,
he's going
wow.
to be defending his title that night. So he's going to be in a match, and he's really doing it, man. He's been training and everything. It's
Oh
we're all
yeah.
he hasn't wrestled in a long time, but he's going to have a match that night. So that's exciting.
It definitely is. And I always enjoy seeing certain legends definitely wrestle. Um, someone who I've seen Shane Douglas wrestle many times,
Hmm.
and I still like the way that he works and everything like that. I don't know if you've ever talked to him. He's a real nice guy.
Oh
Like he
yeah.
really cares about the business. um, He's he's definitely a character too. So I definitely enjoy those kind of matches. So, do you have a favorite opponent so far that you enjoy wrestling?
Yes. I had to think about it for a second. Um, so actually, um, I worked at a promotion up in Newark, Ohio,
Okay.
and I wrestled as a tag team with, oh, I don't remember his actual whole name, but it's the Baker. Um, and we wrestled against the Unwilting Tatiana and Gigi Jacobs. And they were actually really good opponents. Like, um, they, they were just, they were fun. Like, they were entertaining. They were hams. Like, they hamming it up the whole time, man. And we got the best of them in the end. Like we did what we needed to do, and we took it to them. And the Baker and I took them down. But they were good opponents, and they were good sports about it too. Um, they knew that we were just in the end we were just better. So they were fun opponents though because they just everything was the biggest deal. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It good time. That was a fun match.
I've heard of Tatiana. I think I've seen her wrestle once or twice, but I haven't seen the other lady that you mentioned. I haven't seen her wrestle yet.
Well, it's Gigi Jacobs, and he's actually a man, and so we were doing
Okay.
interchange. Um, and he is quite the character. I encourage you to look him up.
Okay.
He's so good. Like he has his character is amazing, but he's also a pretty good wrestler too. Like sometimes you get one or the other. You know what I mean? Like they can have the gimmick going all day long, but then the wrestling is just a little subpar. But
Mhm.
he's got both of them going pretty well for him. So
Oh,
he's
that's awesome.
great.
I gotta remember to look him up afterwards, so I definitely will. Um, so I gotta ask, what is Sarah Bubbles' finishing maneuver?
So I hope none of my opponents are watching because I like to keep that a surprise. But
Okay.
um,
Or one of your go-to moves if you don't
yeah,
want to.
so I like to finish people off with an X factor because
Okay.
um, and I want to try to like coin it as the bubble buster. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I would like to because I feel like that's kind of what it would look like. Like just get them
Yeah.
by the head and I just jump up and take their whole body up and just slam them right down on the mat, man. Just burst their bubble. That's how it goes.
Exactly. You sing bubbles because then you could like use bubbles after you hit them in the mat.
Yeah. you know, stars when they hit their head, these people are going to be seeing bubbles. Like,
Exactly. So do you enjoy the fans at ringside? Are you very uh with that when you come through the entrance ring and see all of them and interaction?
oh, for sure. Yeah, I love the fans. I always go all the way around the ring and high five everyone, at least in the first row.
Mhm.
Sometimes I reach to the second row, but everyone who knows me in real life makes fun of my T Rex arms. Because there was a movie that came out a long time ago, and there was a T Rex on there, and he said he's got a big head and little arms, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's definitely me. So I have tiny little arms and tiny little hands, but I know my hair's in a ponytail right now, but I have huge hair when I wear it down, and
Yeah.
like it always I got a really big head and then like super short arms. So, but yeah, when I can reach, I love interacting with fans though. I always have my merch table set up wherever I can, uh,
Hmm.
and people will always come up, just even just to talk to me. Like, and I love that. Like, I don't care if you're there to buy anything, just come up and interact with me and talk. And kids, especially, man, I love the kids. They'll come up and they'll want to like talk to me, and they'll just
Aw,
pictures with me, and it's fantastic. I love it.
aw. Yeah, that's always the best part is when the kids enjoy meeting people who they look up to. So,
Yeah, for sure.
um, so with moving forward, do you have goals for 2023?
I really just want to keep improving, keep working on my in ring skills, my technical skills. Um, I at first like I was really concerned with just getting the gimmick down because I felt like if I could fine tune my gimmick, then the wrestling would kind of fall into place. With once you know who you are, you'll find your own move set and the own your own way of moving. You know what I mean? Um, and now I've really fine tuned my gimmick. I really know who I am as a wrestler, what I'm trying to accomplish, who I'm trying to target as an audience. So now that I know all of that, I really want to work on my in ring skills, work on getting my cardio better, getting my strength up, finding those technical skills and just working them. You know what I mean? So that's my biggest goal for 2023. I'm getting enough bookings for myself to make me happy. You know what I mean? Um, and I that's that's really it. Like I want to be better. I just want to be better.
There you go. You want to tune it, fine tune it, and
Yeah.
put the hit the next level.
Yep. Absolutely.
Definitely. Um, so, as we get ready to wrap things up, is there anything else you want to say, promote here on Dan-A-Plooza?
Um, I don't think so. But listen, so it might be like a little bit of kayfabe, but I know you sent me questions ahead of time, and I know that you didn't ask one of them because I was really excited to answer it, Dan.
All right, I will go back and pull that. So who were some of your favorite wrestlers growing up or even present day?
Okay, that wasn't it, Dan, but I'll answer because this is fun. Um, I didn't actually watch wrestling at all as a child, and people always are shocked to find that out. Um, I didn't watch wrestling at all until February of 2021 when I went
Oh,
to an
wow.
TV show to support one of my closest friends, who had just started training at FTC in December of 2020. And so he called me the night before the show and he was like, "Hey, do you want to come to my show?" And I was like, "Yes." And he was like, "Great. You have 2 tickets." He's like, "You can bring someone if you want." And I was like, "Okay." So I called my best friend who lived 4 hours away. And I was like, "You want to do something crazy?" And she was like, "Sure." And I was like, "Okay, come to a wrestling show with me tomorrow." And she's like, "Bet." And she drove 4 hours to come down and go to a wrestling show with me and then stay at my house that night. So that I was kind of a little hooked, and then before I knew it, I was training. So,
Yeah. It's amazing. How did the Unpoppable Force name become part of your persona?
okay, so this is a funny story. I have ADHD, and so when I'm scrolling like through Facebook, Instagram, I kind of just keep continuously scrolling and read like speed read. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I was reading somebody had tagged themselves as the unstoppable force, but since I
Right.
didn't stop scrolling, it just kind of blurred and I thought it said unpoppable force. And I was like, man, that's really good. I wish I had come up with that. I went back to see what their gimmick name was. And I was like, oh wait, that doesn't say that. It says unstoppable force. And I was like, I'm taking it. Came up with it because I speed read and it was blurry. I had been trying to come up with a moniker for like forever, and I had been struggling so bad, and so I finally came up with that, and I was super happy about it.
There you go, and, finally, if you could form a dream tag team with yourself and any other wrestler, who would you choose?
Okay, this is it. This is I
I
was so excited
figured.
for this question. Um, there's a art of grappling champion at FTC. His name's Brox Boulder, and he's like my shoot bestie.
Mhm.
I've known him longer than I've been at FTC, and his name's Brox Boulder. Every ring, I say, there's a line from SpongeBob because I'm a full grown child, and he says, "That's not a rock, that's a boulder," and every time I say that. So I made a joke to him one time that we should be an intergender tag team called Pop Rocks, like rocks.
Yeah.
He thinks it's stupid. I think it's hilarious. So that would be great. But also, I would love to tag with Delilah Doom from Santino Brothers.
Oh,
I think
okay.
fantastic. I think our gimmicks line up really well. Um, I just I love her so much. So I think we would make really great tag team partners, and we could like run the women's division of wrestling. Shoot, we could run all of wrestling, like the whole. So if Delilah Doom happens to catch this podcast, hit me up.
Oh, yeah. I've met her before.
Really?
She was at a I wanna say it's not Queens of Combat. It used to be kind of like a wrestling all-girls show, and then it went down under, like, 2 years ago, but she wrestled, um they wrestled for almost, like, 6 hours that day because they did all these tapings, so it was, like,
Oh,
match after match after match, and I'm like, "Wait, didn't I see no, wait, she's fighting her now," and, like, like, because they gotta do the TV tapings, you know?
yeah,
So but she was on there and she had the championship and she just came out like a bowl full of energy, just right out of the floodgate.
yeah.
So
She's super high energy, and
she
I love
is.
fantastic.
So I definitely hope that that happens. But I want to go ahead and thank my guest, Sarah Bubbles, for being on Dan-A-Plooza. Is there anything else you'd like to say as wrap it up?
I think I'm good. Thank you for having me. It's been a fun time.
Oh, yes, it was the best. So everybody keep tuning in for Danapalooza. Next guest we have is pinup model Miss Roro. She will be up next. So everyone take care and have a good evening.